Give you a few seconds here to join me. Get the ping. I'm all bundled up because it's another chilly night tonight. So I put on my extra warm gear. So let's talk about the weather tomorrow. We do have the moon coming into Aries at 2:39. So we have a split day. Sometimes that happens where the mood will shift midday or at some point during the day. It's much more simple when we have the moon coming into a sign that morning or late at night, because we'll just have the one theme. Hey, FG. Hey, Al. But sometimes we get a split day like this where we have a little bit of both. So we start out with, more of the moody state, and then go into the state of action and the simple state. So much more complex in Pisces. Simplicity abounds in Aries. And we don't have like super, super complex aspects either. A few things, but like nothing incredibly serious. Sun, Jupiter, and a sesquiquadrate. We need to be careful about how loud we talk, how fast we run, how much we claim. Our confidence can lead us into problems. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. An eclipse hangover. Yeah, be real careful about how much you do, because we can't push it to the limit. And that's where we get into trouble. We don't associate Jupiter with bad stuff, but the bad stuff that comes as a result of excess. And actually, Jupiter can be hazardous to our health because it's gluttony and risks that aren't well thought out. Too much, also being too much, doing too much, claiming too much. Jupiter can also lead to embarrassment and a fall from grace. Mercury and Pluto are semi-square, and so, sorry guys, leave the cat alone. Shh, Goose. The cat has started this new thing where she goads the girls. Like, the girls are up here minding their own business, but the cat's discovered that she can make a certain noise and cause a ruckus. So the semi-square between Mercury and Pluto has us looking at things more carefully. We ask questions that can lead to some truthful answers. It is a semi-square, so we don't always get right our facts versus our suspicion. We can err on the side of seeing things through the lens of our fears or through our suspicions. But the questions that we ask, and even our sometimes conspiratorial thinking with that semi-square, we can have pieces of the puzzle and ask deeper questions that can seem a little crazy, but sometimes we can get some pieces of the truth. We do have to be careful with the force of our ask, the force of our desire to know, because that's where we can be blocked. People can just be like, no, that's too much, or you are prying, or you're creepy, or we have to be careful with how we use our suspicion and our power. What else? The biquintile between Mars and Jupiter. That's a little bit later in the day. Okay, so we have Sun and Jupiter going on the same day. We have to be careful about our speed and our appetites here. It's a very libidinous day with so much going on in fire, and then a lot of Jupiter happening here. We are going to be looking to enjoy ourselves and to expand and to indulge. So be careful what you indulge in. because that's where we can go off the deep end and embarrass ourselves. It will be a day of excess, particularly in the news. And it is a day where a lot of people are probably looking for some amount of headlines, attention, influence. So how about those big boys in Aries, Saturn and Neptune? There's going to be, I told you, disclosure. Going to have a lot more of that throughout the rest of the year and through 2027. A lot of, what's been hidden or unknown or mysterious. Saturn and Neptune bring that to the forefront. And it's actually a really scary time because everything is melting down. I don't even know it's real or right or true or authentic anymore, but that's part of it. We're scrambled like that. We're shaken up like a snow globe so that we can find our own way and we can find our own level. We can find our own belief system. And yeah, it's going to be wild in terms of almost every single day. Almost every single day, having some kind of revelation, some kind of secret, some kind of clue from the underneath that comes out. That's a good point, Elle. Yeah, Jupiter does rule originally the 12th, classically, traditionally. It does have that both ninth house excessive way and traditionally 12th house all-encompassing way. So yeah, all-encompassing success, and we have both of those in aspect together. All-encompassing excess. FG, Lilith is exactly conjunct my ascendant, Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Who's next on the chopping block? Well, with Uranus at that those very last degrees in Taurus, and coming into that 0 degree point in Gemini, which is rapid spread of information, knowledge, shared systems. The nature of Uranus is that anything can happen. So that's the surprise element. Uranus is always what you don't see coming. And what comes out of the blue. Shocking things. And whenever we have planets at the very last degree and the very first degree of signs, we see revelations or disturbances related to what has been occurring in that sign. It's like a little synopsis. And then as a planet, Uranus in this case, gets to that 0 point, 0 degree point in Gemini, and that's where we have a launching of new ideas, information. It's a lot in terms of something coming out of the Jack in the Box. And what's in the Jack in the Box? Things related to information, technology, information sharing, common distribution of power and information and goods. It's also trade. So we see huge changes coming in the next 7 years when it comes to the nature of trade. Lost age, yeah, sure. There's something like that going on as well. We have disclosure and it's packaged in such a way where it is meant to overwhelm you for a reason. So it's not just what's going on currently that is going to be in the news and in the headlines. There's more related to what we've always thought was real or regular, because our institutions worldwide are melting down, changing, going through many a contortion. It comes to changing and updating, and as those things fall, melt down, change, it changes our definitions of reality. Saturn is the structure of reality. It's our institutional agreements. So as that all changes, and as Neptune goes through Aries, what's happening is it's an actual fight to define reality. It's a fight to determine what history is and what our norms are, what our explanations for the natural world are, what our collective belief systems are when it comes to the nature of reality. That is all what powers and factions and who wants to take the lead wants to define. So that's why we need to define all that for us, ourselves, personally. And so we have this window of opportunity while we're so flexible and so confused to get more in contact with what we really feel, what we can know according to our conscience is right, what brings peace. Yep, floods, yes, it overwhelms and it does shut down discernment because you can't really determine what's what. By Nicola, the eclipse is conjunct my moon in Aquarius in the 6th. And my partner's second house, Capricorn ascendant. What is your interpretation of Saturn entering the 8th house in Aries? So as Saturn goes through the 8th house, it puts us to work dealing with our death anxiety, dealing with our use of power, and understanding the responsibility that we have. When it comes to wielding our power and using it correctly, we'll look at moral responsibility. It's restructuring the things of the 8th house and having you deal with debt, karmic debts as well. Okay, so the eclipse being in the 6th and being in the 2nd for both of you. For one of you, the 6th, the other one, the 2nd. It's having a look at freedom and liberation and the connected responsibilities for that regarding possessions and finances, what you collect, the stuff, ownership in the 2nd house, and then related to health, discernment, and routines, and how well you can take care of yourself. So lightening the load. Yeah, because there's a big offloading with that square to Uranus. So incoming different types of routines or different considering different ways that you can feed yourself, take care of yourself. So changes that are, sounds like, because it's a new moon, very good when it comes to planting seeds of better health. Hey, Quoni. Hey, Kara. Egregores. Been thinking a lot about those, FG. Funny you say that word. A lot of people don't know what that is. Kara, how can I know, how will Saturn transiting my 10th house affect me? That's a great place for Saturn to be. Saturn naturally rules the 10th. Saturn's at home in that environment. So when Saturn comes to the 10th house and cruises through the 10th house, we get the biggest report card on our individuation, the biggest grade on our individuation report card that we can get. We see how we're doing in terms of living a full, independent adult life and breaking free from the conditioning of the past, parents' expectations. That's a momentous time in life because we can be either promoted or realize that we have really reached the peak of what we have been working for. Or sometimes we fail. Sometimes we do when Saturn comes to the 10th or to the midheaven, because we realize that although we've been putting our back into something and our shoulder to the wheel, it may not be what we really want. It may not be what we want to be doing for the next 7 to 14 to 21 to 28 years. So it's different for different people, depending on how we've been doing, what we've been doing, and have we been choosing. If we just been making limited decisions, and we can get a little spanking with Saturn going through the 10th, and it frees us up to do more of what we want to be doing. I'm afraid of job loss during this transit. Only if it's something that isn't serving you. Only if it's something that you need to be freed from in order to pursue a fuller life. If it's something that's working for you and that is, checking off the right boxes, then we don't have to worry about that kind of loss. Yeah, FG. Yes, Saturn there, and not just Neptune. Neptune in the 10th. It's a longer term transit where in itself we can see we can actually really fall out of love with what we're doing with Neptune going through the 10th. That's a long-term transit that can take up to 14 years, depending on how big your 10th house is. If you use a time-based system and have bigger, smaller houses. In an average house, a 30-degree house, it takes about 14 years for Neptune to get through. So it spiritualizes the material side of life. So not good for you if you're a billionaire, because you may, probably not actually. And I take that back, because you wouldn't have the natal predisposition to see through those things. Not good for you if you're materialistic, because Neptune could have us looking through what is apparent to what is actually real, the Neptunian spiritual side of life, which seems like the illusion, unless you understand the real nature of reality. Neptune is actually the biggest reality. And so it's a paradox. I don't want to get into it tonight. There's a lot to say there. I'm glad Saturn, lost age. Do I know my animal totem? I used to think I was a hummingbird. And then I had a really deep, meaningful ayahuasca experience. And I realized I'm a dragon. And I never would have thought that before I really looked deeper into who I really am. I thought I was nicer than that. Oh, yes. After you quit your job after 12 years, making good money, but it was soul crushing. Good, you're not selling your soul anymore. We can sell our soul in a lot of different ways. If we're doing something that's morally out of alignment with us, or it makes our stomach turn, or we just don't want to get out of bed. I mean, there's some times where we just have to get by. It's just a practical decision. But if we have the option to live a life where we don't feel like we're selling ourselves short or selling our time off, to something that's just so distasteful, or that we just really we don't want to do, it's best if we can choose something that sits right with our soul and with our personal brand of creativity and what we have to offer. Lost Age. You should watch the Maleficent movie with Angelina Jolie. I have seen that. Both of those were really great. I really liked the first one. Of course I did. All women liked the Maleficent movie. All women who love crystals and astrology and esoteric things, I'm sure, we liked the Maleficent movie. Oh, thank you, Kara. I appreciate that. I'll be working on more natal aspect interpretations this year. Okay, guys, I'm going to get going for now. It was good to connect with you. We've got a pretty fun day tomorrow, so do be careful about the risks that you take and how much we eat and drink, because it is quite a impulsive, gluttonous energy. I will not be making brownies tomorrow because I know what will happen. All right, guys, good to see you. I'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific time.